In the summer of 2009, I was diagnosed, actually I developed an inner ear infection. And the inner ear infection kind of never went away. So in the fall of 2009, I went to an ENT and I said, I have this ear infection and it's not going away. And he said, well, it's just an ear infection, wait it out, it'll go away. So a month goes by, I go back and I said, I still have an ear infection, it's still there. And he said, well, now you're imagining it. Because if you're going to imagine a pretend friend, you're going to pretend that it's an intractable ear infection. That's who you want as a companion. So I went to my primary care doctor and I said, can you do me a favor? Can you prove I'm not crazy? I had this ear infection and it's lasted for months. So she orders an MRI and she calls me in and she says, you know, I have bad news. You have a tumor in your ear. And I was like, there are tumors in your ear? There's like ear tumors? That's a thing? And she said, I don't know, because I'm a PCP, so I have no idea what this thing is. You need to go to an ear tumor doctor. So I went to the head of ear tumorology at Penn, and he pulls me aside and he said, yeah, there's actually a bunch of different tumors you can get in your ear, and we probably think you have a schwannoma. And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, absolutely nothing. You go deaf, and you get horrible vertigo, and you are going to need assistance to walk. And I said, but I dance, and I do yoga, and I do Pilates, and I have a life. And he actually looked at me and he said, not anymore. So this would be a great story, right? If I went home and said, gosh darn it, I'm not gonna let this get me down. I'm gonna fight this, I'm gonna beat this. No, I went home and I cried for 48 hours straight, and I got shit-faced drunk, and I puked in my kitchen sink. And then I went to work, and you know how when people don't know what to say, when you have bad news like this, they come up to you and they say, well, don't worry, it's all gonna be okay. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking go deaf and walk with a cane. How is being a half-deaf cripple okay? And then someone else came up to me and said, Liz, this sucks. Your life fell apart. Everything you knew is a disaster now, but you're gonna get through this because you have no choice. And that was the turning point when I realized, you know, I had experienced a lot of fear, the kind of fear you would expect to have when you're told life as you know it is over, and everything you love is going to end, and you're not going to be able to participate in life the way you thought you were. So that was the point when I thought, maybe I should try seeing some other doctors to see what they have to say, get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. So here's what happens when you seek a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. I went to one doctor who does, because I'd heard gamma knife surgery is a thing, and he calls me into his office and he says, I can't irradiate your brain because it's irradiating your brain. You don't want to irradiate your fucking brain. And I said, but I have a tumor, don't you irradiate tumors? And he actually said to me, everyone you're sitting next to in my waiting room was dying. You're not dying, you're only suffering. So then I went to another doctor over at Jefferson, and he was all too ready to go after me with a gamma knife. Only his thing was, he did serial gamma knife radiation, and he said, well, the problem is, I don't know what dose to use. He said, but I'm happy to try different levels of radiation on your head if you'll let me. Would you want to volunteer for dose finding on a radiation on your skull? Me either. So, and then I went to another doctor, and he walked in basically with a scalpel and was like, I'm ready to rock and roll, let's go. And I was like, well, wait a minute, what are the dangers of surgery? And he said, well, you could die on the table or you could die of a brain infection. So I was like, well, wait a minute, okay, it sucks to be deaf, but at least you're not dead. So I went back home and I started looking at doctors outside of Philly, and I ended up going to Hopkins. And I went to Hopkins and the doctor said, you shouldn't let fear dictate what you're going to do. Because if you let fear dictate what you're going to do, then the tumor wins. And he actually said, this is the type of tumor that I have is a schwannoma, he said, do not let schwannoma bin Laden win. He's great. If you ever get diagnosed with an ear tumor, and I hope that you don't, but if you do, I have a guy. So after that, I went home and I realized the solution wasn't to run from the things that I was told that I couldn't do, but to run towards the things. And the doctor told me I had to dance more, and ride my bike more, and fall more, and get dizzy more, and throw up more. And when fear is screaming in your face, you can't ignore it, because you can't ignore something that's screaming in your fucking face. And the way to defeat fear is not by not listening to it and not by ignoring it. You should always listen because it tells you something valuable. But the way to defeat fear is by not doing what it tells you to do and not acting on it. So when you get bad news and you're told that you won't be able to walk again or you won't be able to dance again, remember, it's okay to pause to cry, it's okay to pause to get drunk, it's okay to pause to puke in your kitchen sink. But in the end, you find a way to keep on dancing.